Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you're doing well and staying safe. Let's talk about one of my favorite ships, the Julius Caesar. But first, we're going to change the settings, aka Wargaming. Please fix this bug on replays. We would greatly appreciate it. The Julius Caesar is a Tier 5 Italian battleship, and it, without a doubt, is one of my top 3 favorite ships. So let's get into it. So let's talk a bit of history about the Julius Caesar, the GC as we call her. Named after Julius Caesar. Now there's a good emperor. Was built back in Genoa, started in 1910 June and launched in October of 1911. She was completed though in May of 1914 and served as a flagship in the southern Adriatic during World War I. She saw no action. The Julius Caesar and the Conte di Cavour supported Italian operations on Corfu in 1923. I love that name, Corfu. After an Italian general and his staff were murdered at the Greek-Albanian frontier, Benito Mussolini, who had been looking for a pretext to seize Corfu, history has proven that, ordered Italian troops to occupy the island. In 1928, the Julius Caesar became a gunnery training ship after having been in the reserves since 1926. She's pretty old at this point and getting kind of old, and World War II is yet to come. She was reconstructed in Genoa between 1933 and 1937, so basically a refit. She participated in a naval battle review by Adolf Hitler in the Bay of Naples in May of 1938 and covered the invasion of Albania in 1939. Okay, so let's talk about the ship's specs. First of all, survivability. She has 45,500 points with my upgrades and a 37% torpedo belt protection. That's actually quite good. Her hull layout for armament, that's 19 millimeter bow. She can be angled pretty easy from Tier 6 and Tier 7 battleships, so always, always, always angle. And she is very susceptible to high explosive, especially Daka boats. So let's talk guns. Typical 2x2, 320 millimeter guns basically, and a plethora of secondaries. She has a maximum range of 16.4 kilometers, but I'll get into the captain skill with the specialty captain I have that makes it even better. Her secondaries for me are spec'd out at about 6.6 to just around that area. That'll actually make it easy to deal with destroyers, but she's not really a secondary build for me. And the main guns reload about every 30 seconds as base. Alright, so let's talk about the rest of it. Maneuverability, 28.4 knots with a speed flag. Turning circle, not too bad. It's a bit slow, you lose a lot of speed. Rudder shift time is 13 seconds, that's terrible. But concealment's down to 11.9 with all the captain skills, which is actually quite nice. And I'll explain more of that a bit later with the captain skills. Now, the Julius Caesar is a premium ship, so there's no actual upgrades for the ship. She is what she is. At this tier, it's a pretty basic build for me. It's always main armament. I always take it to battleship to reduce my fires and fire chances. In this case, I like to spec her with a bit of secondaries as well.
The enemy team has taken the lead.
World War II. Early in World War II, the ship took part in the Battle of Calabria, and I hope I say that right, also known as the Battle of Punto Stilo, together with her sister ship, the Conte di Cavour, in July of 1940, during which she engaged major elements of the British Mediterranean fleet. The British were escorting a convoy from Malta to Alexandria, and the Italians had just finished escorting another from Naples to Benghazi, Libya. Admiral Andrew Cunningham, you might have heard that name, he is a specialty captain in World of Warships, commanded the Mediterranean fleet, attempted to depose his ships between the Italians and their base at Taranto. The crew of the fleet spotted each other in the middle of the afternoon, and the battleships opened fire at a range of 27,000 meters, 27 kilometers, or 29,000 yards. The two leading British battleships, HMS Warspite, love that boat, and the Malaya, HMS Malaya, replied a minute later. 3 minutes after she opened fire, shells from the Julius Caesar began to straddle the Warspite, which she decided to make a small turn and increase speed to throw off the Italian ship's aim the next shot. A shell from the Warspite struck the Julius Caesar at a distance of 24 kilometers or 24,000 meters and 26,000 yards. The shell pierced the rear funnel and detonated inside of the actual Julius Caesar. This is a record shot, blowing out a hole nearly 6.1 meters or 20 feet across. Fragments started several fires, and their smoke was drawn into the boiler rooms, forcing 4 boilers offline as their operators could not breathe. Need some good damage control there. This reduced the ship's speed to 18 knots or 33 kilometers an hour or 21 miles an hour. Uncertain how severe the damage was, Camponetti ordered his battleships to turn away in the face of superior British numbers, and they succeedingly disengaged. My flag build and camo is pretty standard for this boat. I always take Battleship row, which is the second one, to make sure I have speed flags, etc., etc. I also take AA and I take consumables. I always take all the economic flags, and if I have them, I take the specialty flags as well. This build for me is pretty standard of what I do for most battleships, to be honest with you. On the night of November 11th, 1940, the Julius Caesar and the other Italian battleships were at anchor in Taranto, Italy, harbor, where they were attacked by the very Swordfish, 21 of them, torpedo bombers, the same torpedo bombers that helped take out the Bismarck. From the British aircraft carrier HMS Illustrious, along with several other warships. One torpedo sank her sister ship, the Conte di Cavour, in shallow waters, but the Julius Caesar was not hit during the attack. You're lucky. She did participate in the Battle of Cape Saventoio, I hope I say that right, I'm not Italian, on the 27th of November 1940, but never got close enough for any British ships to fire at them. The ship was damaged in January 41 by splinters from a near miss during an air raid in Naples by Vickers Wellington bombers of the Royal Air Force. Repairs took place, obviously, in Genoa and were completed in early February. On the 8th of February, she sailed in the Straits of Bonifacio to intercept what was the Italians thought was the Malta convoy, but was actually a raid on Genoa itself. She failed to make contact with any British forces, and she participated also as well in the first Battle of Sirte in the 17th December 1941, providing distance cover for a convoy bound for Libya, and briefly engaged the escorts from the British convoy. So far at this point, she's done pretty much nothing except sit in harbor. I wonder if they took their lessons from the Yamato and the Musashi. She also provided distant cover from the convoy in North Africa in early January 1942. The Julius Caesar was reduced at this point to a training ship, afterwards at Taranto and later Pola. After the Italians surrendered on the 9th of September 1943, she steamed to Taranto, putting down a mutiny and enduring the ineffectiveness attack by 5 German aircraft en route. She then sailed for Malta, where she arrived on the 12th of September to be interned. The ship remained there until June of 1944, when she returned to Taranto, where she would remain for the next 4 years. Now for the plot twist. After the war, the Julius Caesar was allocated to the Soviet Union as part of war reparations. She was moved to Augusta, Sicily on December 9, 1948, where an unsuccessful attempt was made to sabotage her. The ship was stricken from the Naval Registry on the 15th of December and turned over to the Soviets on the 6th of February 1949. She was renamed, and I'm going to probably bastardize this, the Novorossiysk, after the Soviet city in the name of the Black Sea. Soviets used her as a training ship and gave her a total of 8 refits. While at anchor in Sevastopol, on the night of the 20th of October 1955, an explosion ripped a 4 by 14 meter or 13 by 46 foot hole in the forecastle forward of A turret. That's near the bow. The flooding could not be controlled, and she capsized with the loss of 608 men, including men sent from other ships. That's pretty tragic. The cause of the explosion is still unclear. However, officials' cause regard as the most probable was a magnetic RMH or LBM bottom mine laid by the Germans during World War II and triggered by the dragging of the the battleship's anchor chain before mooring for the last time. Subsequently, searches located 32 mines of these types, some of them within 50 meters to 160 feet of the actual explosion. That harbor was laid out with steel mines. The damage was consistent with an explosion of a 1,000 to 1,200 kilogram or 2,200 to 2,600 pound bomb of TNT. And more of one mine may have detonated. The Novorossiysk was stricken from the Naval Registry on the 24th of February 1956, salvaged on the 4th of May 1957, and then was scrapped. Just one side note, there was just recently in this year, I think it was 2021, a bomb found, the same kind of bomb that took out the Tirpitz, in a harbor in Poland that ships have been sailing over for 70 years. This bomb is over 10,000. I think it's called the Tall Boy. Don't quote me on that one. But it's a British bomb fired from Lancaster bombers. In fact, there's even a video from it of it actually being dropped and hitting the water. Well, it stayed there for 70 years. So there's still bombs out there and explosives and whatnot. All around Europe, bombs are still found. So the last thing for me are my captain skills. I have the specialty Italian captain, Linguini Santori, a Cantaloni, Luigi. I call him that because I love Italian food. So my bill is on here as a captain. The one thing I focus on for the Giulio Cesare is secondaries. Always being able to refire. A bit of health is always good. Concealment. Far reach is the best thing you want to get. My distance now is 17.7 as opposed to 16.4 for my main guns. It is a big improvement and really does help. These specialty captains, for the bulk of it, are actually good. I've got a video coming out and talking about shortly, but for me, I really do love this captain. I use him on all my Italian ships now.
Enemy cruiser sunk. The ship is on fire. Enemy battleship foundered. Problem solved, sir.
Well, as always, I hope you enjoyed the game. This is my first ever Kraken win. I've had several Krakens before, or 8, and never won. So this is the first for me, which is really nice. As always, take care, stay safe, and thanks for coming out, and thanks for watching. Bye for now.